Previously on your favorite episode.
By Ricky Rack, I love to run to feel the grasses beneath my toes.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new edition of Your Favorite Episode. I am your host, Jackie, and joining me is my partner and producer, Mickey. Our guest today is comedian and cool fellow Bryce Damuth, and he's right here with us to talk about his favorite episode of television ever. What is it? Season 3, Episode 10 of Community, Regional Holiday Music, our second repeat series. Y'all ready to get into it? Let's go.
TV defeats its own purpose when it's pushing an agenda or trying to defeat other TV or being proud or ashamed of itself for existing. It's TV.
Give me some love, time in a tree. Give me the hope to run out of steam. Somebody say,
Hello, how are you?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Pretty good. I mean, this year's been crazy, but, pretty good.
Yeah.
I already recorded your intro, so now I have to read this awkward thing that says, Eventually your favorite episode will be filmed in front of a live studio audience, but for now, we're going to stay right here in the safety of the internet. And let's talk about Community with Bryce Damuth. Hello, Bryce, and welcome.
Hey there. Thank you.
So why Community? I mean, I know why for me.
Right. Yeah. Not like I got turned on to Community kind of late, I think. But once I kind of got into it, it's just one of the smartest written shows out there, in my opinion. And just like the jokes are so layered, and like the callbacks are so great, and the characters. Who doesn't love the characters, man? Like Donald Glover and Danny Pudi and all those other guys. They're just all so. I don't know. It's just a very cohesive. Like everything's good about it, in my opinion.
Yeah. We came to it late too, like really late, like maybe even 10 years late. I don't know. I don't do time math. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like, the episode that I picked is actually like the first episode of the show that I ever saw.
Oh wow, that is an interesting introduction to the show.
Yeah. But no, it really like turned me on to it. 'Cause like it was when it came out. I feel like it came out like around the same time as like Modern Family and like a bunch of those other kind of shows, and I feel like it kind of get lost in the sauce a little bit. So I just kind of compared it to the rest of those, which they're fine shows. Don't get me wrong. But I didn't pay it any attention, and then like one day I just happened to catch this episode here. I'm like, man, this is brilliant. Just genius.
And it was also part of the lineup. Like, I think it was followed by Parks and Rec followed it. And then I forget what other show was in between, but then it was ended the night with The Office.
Yeah, there was some weird, hold on, I have that right here. It was Whitney, based on the stand-up of Whitney Cummings.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot that existed.
I did too. Like, I don't even remember what the premise of it was or anything.
Season 1 through 3 of Community was a very, very weird time in the internet and TV, and like it was that trying to merge. Everyone's awkward and trying to merge onto the highway. This was that awkward period of trying to figure out who fits where, and no one wants to give anybody any room to get in or anything like that. So it was a mess at this particular time when this was airing.
Yeah, I believe that. There were like a whole bunch of like just kind of new startups, and like you said, I think everybody was reaching plants growing up from the cracks, and they're all trying to get that sunlight.
Well, it was like the one. It was not really like the one year, but I feel compelled to mention the one year where 30 Rock and Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip came out in the same year, and only 30 Rock survived. And I still think that's one of the greatest crimes in television ever.
I never got around to seeing that one. I do remember when it came out though, but I didn't watch it at all.
I 100%. It still holds up. I go back and watch it at least once a year. It is a brilliant show, and it really deserved more time than it got.
That's gonna be the next one I'm gonna have to find, because like it happens too often. Like where like I come on the shows like way too late, and then they're gone by the time I find out about them or see them. Like Greg the Bunny was one. I remember like I got turned on to that late, and that show was brilliant.
Oh, if you like the what was the Australian one with the dog and
Wilfred.
Wilfred.
I meant to watch that too.
God,
Never
I love
did.
Wilfred. I haven't watched that in so long. Elijah
it's-
Wood's a weird cat.
I'm gonna have to like take notes. Y'all give me homework.
I really love television.
Yeah, because then because we go from we'll watch a show and either make a complete break and start fresh, or we'll kind of research that show and be like, oh, this person made that show. And Wilfred was like from Australia, so we were like, oh, what else is from Australia? And then we found that comedian
Jim Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries had a television show. He had a television show based on his life, so we kind of lily padded from there to there to there, and then it's like, oh wow, this just opened up a whole new set of shows for us to watch.
Yeah, Jeffries is great, man. Like, I've only seen a little bit of his show. Like, do you guys remember what it was
I
called?
think it was called Legit, but I'm not 100% sure.
I think
I'm
that sounds right.
99.99% sure.
That
The
sounds
sitcom
right,
or the talk show?
The sitcom.
the sitcom.
Oh yeah, but I think it was Legit.
Like, I feel like the cover was like just scrawled and like scratched into. I don't know.
I mean, have you guys heard Jeffries do his American accent? Sorry, I know this is a tangent, but
No, tangents are great. We love tangents. I don't think so.
It's one of my. It's eerie, is what it is. It's like because like you associate his Australian accent, his voice with his appearance or whatever. Then to see him do an American accent is just eerie, and honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite things on the planet. And I would watch an entire show with just him playing an American. I really would.
Like it's kind of like for us, I grew up watching 1970s Muppets and
nice.
and stuff like that. So anytime I watch a Muppet entity now, like, it is what it is, and I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it's a wrong sounding Muppet, is because I'm seeing the face that I grew up listening to, and it's like the only way that I could get over it is trying to convince myself that Kermit went through puberty and his voice changed, and now this is the new voice. But it's off-putting when it's kind of like the opposite of seeing Cartwright do Bart Simpson voice, in an interview. It's like you've heard this voice with Bart's face the entire time you've grown up, and now here's this lady, with long blonde hair just talking into a mic with Bart's voice. You're like, no, that's not right. That's not right.
The one that gets me is, I don't know if you watch Succession, but seeing the guy who plays Tom Wamsgams do an interview and he's fucking British blows my mind.
I had no idea.
Like, he was in Pride and Prejudice and played like the romantic lead, and he's not. I can't picture him as a romantic lead, especially a British one.
Yeah.
Oh no, and what's not Will Ferrell, but the Ferrell, the guy in Love Actually that writes the book.
Oh, Colin Firth.
Yeah, like he's a leading, and he's a British leading man.
Oh yeah. I just see him so emasculated as Tom Wamsgams. I can't see him as a leading man. It has nothing to do with the British part of it or his attractiveness. I think the guy who plays Tom Wamsgams is attractive because of how talented he is. Because he is incredibly talented in that role.
Have you guys seen Letterkenny?
We've tried.
Okay. But there's one character. There's one character in it is fast. There's a lot of words in a short amount of time. It's like a Canadian Gilmore Girls. But no, there's one character in there named McMurray, and he kind of like mumbles when he talks like this, kind of like their version of Boomhauer a little bit. But I saw an interview of him like just going through just like boatloads of accents, like he does like Irish and Scottish and Welsh and stuff like that, and it's just like from a guy that you only know like doing mumbles, to go in like and he's he's an amazing accent guy. I don't know what you call them. Like, is there like a word like a like
impressionist?
An accenter?
No?
Yeah, impressionist.
Impressionist. Okay, sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, I guess you're just impersonating an Irish person or impersonating a German person or whatever. That works, yeah.
I mean, a linguist is someone who studies that. But,
yeah.
Right.
And a mimic is a person that mimics like other people, I think. I don't know.
I'm autistic. I don't do vocabulary.
I love words. I'm autistic and I love words. Okay, so for people who have never seen Community and haven't listened to our previous episode about Community with Ryan McDonald, what is Community? Like an overview of the show, the main characters, all of that fun stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the basic of, or the basis of the show, like which they kind of sew up in the pilot, is that it's just a group of random people that go to a community college in Greendale, what is it, Colorado?
Mm-hmm.
So you got Joel McHale, he plays Jeff, who's like a disgraced lawyer or whatever, and he's going back to get his degree so he can be a real lawyer. And then you got a former college or former high school football star in Donald Glover. And then you have an autistic guy who references movies constantly, and he's probably the soul of the show, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and then what do you got?
The girl from New York.
Yeah, Britta.
The worst. Not really. I don't.
Yeah, no, you do not get to call her the worst. What is her name?
Shirley.
Oh, Shirley too. Yeah, Shirley.
And Annie.
She's housewife with a couple kids, and then Annie, who is also went to the same high school as Troy, played by Donald Glover, who she used to be hooked on pills, like
little Annie Adderall.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a lovable motley crew who get together in a study room, and that's like the basis of the show. But it ends up branching out into so much more. So much. A lot of movie reference, a lot of other pop culture references go into the show, and I don't know if there's like an inverse of meta, because I feel like it knows what it is, but it also kind of gets lost in what it is, which I think is pretty great.
It's like escalation of meta almost.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
It's like meta escalated, and that's wild to me, because I've been thinking a lot about like the things that I like in TV and movies, and a lot of them have to do with like escalation. Like one of the shows that I talk about a lot is a show called Search Party, because like one episode to the next it escalates so big, and then one season to the next it escalates on this giant manner, and it's just seeing somebody's like the writer's imaginations be able to expand that big is just magical to me. Everyone should watch Search Party.
To give a metaphor, it's like if you pulled 3 or 4 cars into a garage and chopped them up and then put them all together and then made your own personal modifications to it, and then you came in and a couple of friends repainted it, and it's just the most fantastic new mashed up creation in the world, is kind of what it is. It's meta, and it's deconstructed, and it's reconstructed, and it's parody, and it's sarcasm, and it's irony, and it's basically they took every tool on the bench and said, can we cram this, can we build something using every single tool?
Absolutely. I did want to compare it to a live action Muppet Babies.
That's like Dan Harmon is pretty obsessed with Muppet Babies, because I was obsessed with Dan Harmon for a while and obsessively listened to the Harmontown podcast, and he talks about the Muppet Babies a lot. So that's
hilarious.
That's wild.
And the Unity episode of Rick and Morty, where Unity makes the television show for him, and it's the community television show. It's like that was very Muppet Baby-ish.
Oh yeah,
in its execution.
Oh
yeah,
that's talking about the cast. I forgot Chevy Chase.
Oh yeah, everybody forgets Pierce.
Somewhat disgraced Chevy Chase.
That guy's a mess.
Yeah, Troy Barnes did not forget. Like he is from like every now and then he will like if he's giving a speech or introducing someone or just randomly on stage giving a concert, he'll throw a jab at him because
Really?
Chevy Chase. It has come out over the years that Chevy Chase was extremely abusive towards Donald Glover during
Wow.
the years of filming and stuff, and like freely used like Chevy Chase believed that he earned the ability to use the N-word when he did a sketch with Richard Pryor long
I remember
ago.
that.
And it's like, and it's one of those things where like my dad was very ignorant of this fact that when you're in a conversation with one person and you're comfortable with that level of conversation and whatever, and you turn and you meet a stranger, the stranger you just met is not ready for that level of intimacy and joking around right then and there. You kind of have to build up some sort of relationship with a person before you just start joking, which, you know.
And from my understanding, that sketch was written by Paul Mooney, which if Paul Mooney gives you the okay and you're in a controlled environment, go ahead. But once you leave set, that's done.
And I don't want them hip white people coming at me, calling me no or telling me jokes. I don't like it.
Season 3, episode 10, regional holiday music. I think we should just like get into the episode. I don't think we need to do a recap of the episode.
Right.
We're going to recap the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of the first things we see that I forget every time until I'm actively watching it is the human being mascot covered in icicles.
There are some jokes where they just let it go and they're like, we're going to let it fly. And with the internet, Dan Harmon and the rest of the crew was very savvy on how to use the internet. And partly everyone was still trying to figure out how to mesh television and internet. So they could get instant feedback on a lot of the show. Like while the show is airing, the people are out there saying stuff on MySpace and stuff. So, you know, when like they did the Beetlejuice joke, that was 3 years in the making. And, you know, Beetlejuice went by, they didn't say anything, and the internet exploded. But then this is one of those jokes where, you know, the human being walks by and it's just a brief in the corner of the camera, and then they go ahead and they address it right then and there. Like, did you see the joke that we just did?
Yeah. And then they never bring him back for the rest of the episode. That's the only time you see him.
Do we know who's inside the human being suit? I don't think I've ever researched that.
I do not. Like, physically, it looks like Abed. Like, it looks like Danny Pudi.
I always think it's the Dean in my brain.
Oh.
I put the Dean, I don't know why I put the Dean in the human being suit. I mean, they're in scenes together, so that's stupid.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe it's like a Scream thing where it's multiple people, you know?
That would be funny.
Yeah, or Alfred dressed up, you know, because Alfred had to dress up in the Batman suit every now and then just to prove that Bruce Wayne wasn't Batman.
That is a good point.
Andy Kaufman all over again.
So I heard that Andy Kaufman is getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's amazing.
I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm in some wrestling groups on Facebook and I saw it, and I think that's kind of awesome if it's true.
Well, technically, they like corporate buyouts and stuff. Because Jerry the King Lawler had moved to the WWE. Well, he moved to the WWF whenever there was a buyout of whatever thing Jerry Lawler was in. And then over the next 20, 30 years, WWE just kept buying those smaller wrestling companies. So they probably own the rights to all of that footage.
It's true that he's being inducted to the Hall of Fame, and Twitter says there's a 50-50 chance that he shows up at the ceremony to confront Jerry Lawler one more time. So he must have fought against Jerry Lawler at one point.
Oh, yeah. Jerry Lawler choke slammed him through a table on David Letterman.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I can see, you know, Andy Kaufman loved something so much that he took it that far to get attention for something he loved. So, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, let people love things.
Seriously.
Andy Kaufman and David Letterman and Jerry Lawler all got together and they said, hey, we're going to do this thing. We're going to promote this thing. And wrestling got a lot of attention and attendance and stuff all climbed at, all the various wrestling joints around. And then, the rise of Vince McMahon, and that'll be a Netflix series soon enough.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the study group is like sitting around the table talking about their Christmas plans, basically. And then the Glee Club shows up.
No, they're in the auditorium, or the cafeteria turned auditorium.
Yeah.
And they're waiting for the show, talking about their holiday plans. I thought you said they were in the study room.
I said the study group are in the cafeteria.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I'll delete that out.
It's okay. Mistakes happen, dude.
The power of editing.
Okay, so the study group is like sitting around the table.
And the Glee Club comes in. And an observation that I came up with just a few minutes ago while we were watching this is Dan Harmon and Community was up against Glee in the lineup. And again, this is pre-internet TV, so it was like you are actually competing. Now with internet TV, everyone could watch whatever they want whenever they want, and that didn't happen less than 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So they aired at the same time and you had to watch it live, and I think streaming and TiVo and stuff was there, so you could record TV.
And can I also say that they shared a backlot too?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so there was a friendly rivalry, and like outwardly there was a hatred towards Glee by the community fans, which is when Dan learned how to harvest and try to steer his fans. Because as much as he hated Glee, you can't write this parody and not love it. Like you can't,
Right.
You cannot parody something this well and not love what you're making fun of.
Yeah, that was one of the things that turned me onto it, was that not only were they parodying kind of Burning Glee or whatever, but they turned it into this Invasion of the Body Snatchers parable too. And I just thought that whole connection was just brilliant.
And I think they only came up with that like the night before
Really?
The table read or something like that.
Yeah, they had like a bunch of scenes put together, like, oh, here's how we're getting people on board, but the thread of what is it? What is, how do we get them on board?
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the writers was like, hey, what about this? And they're like, yes, and then everyone furiously wrote last minute.
That's amazing.
The Glee Club comes out, starts singing, and then like Britta, someone points out that Jeff is absolutely happy, which is odd because he hates Jeff has a deep seething hate for the Glee Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Britta. And then Jeff is all relaxed because he or I don't know if he ever said he, but he some lawyer contacted ASCAP.
Mm-hmm.
Has been protecting song property rights for decades.
Almost as long as our house has existed, we found out during that episode. Yeah. It's crazy. Our house is so old. Like since 1918, I think it was.
Man. Yeah, I think your house is just a little bit older than mine. I think mine was in the 20s.
Ours is 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy. We're like living in literal pieces of history. All of
Right.
us.
It got upgrades like indoor plumbing and stuff. So
Yeah.
we're good there. Like cease and desist is like, I didn't know it. Like, all right. At one time I had a podcast and we chose a silly name and we called it The Syndicate. And we started buying like the domains. And this was an era where if you bought a domain and you put it on the internet, like people could find it. Like Google actually worked at the time and stuff like that. And a radio station in Connecticut at a college decided that we were infringing on their rights to talk about music and sent us a cease and desist letter, which was absolutely hilarious because the several things they misspelled copyright and spelled it cropyright and trademark.
Oh wow.
So that became a long-standing joke for our crew. And on top of that, the lawyer that wrote us a letter was something Nussbaum, Naeusbaum or something like that. And one of the guys on the show turned it into a segment called the News Bomb, and he would just make up headlines in a just frightening fashion of these are the headlines of the day and this is why you're going to shit your pants. And in and out, done, and we got to make a joke about the guy for a very long time.
Well, and often the intro was longer than the segment also. I remember that part about the news bomb. So basically setting up this episode is the Glee Club gets served with a cease and desist because of ASCAP, and the Glee Club instructor, Mr. Rad, comes to the study group and he's like, hey guys, I need you guys to fill in for the Glee Club again like you did last time. But they are like, no, because they hate the Glee Club. And then like one by one, they kind of get pulled back into the Glee Club, and it starts with Abed, right?
Right. And Abed doesn't he doesn't kind of fall victim to the hypnosis or whatever. He just kind of goes along with it because he says he likes liking things. He wants to do this. He's the only one in the group that does want to do this. So it doesn't take any really talking into for him. He's kind of up and rolls with it.
And we established previously that like he loves Christmas because the Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas was like season 2 or something. So we already know that like Christmas is something that Abed loves. It's special to him. So I can see how it being like a Christmas Glee thing, also making it extra Abed-y. And Mr. Rad like sings this very Christmassy song about Glee to him. And that's all it takes to get Abed to start pulling his friends in one by one.
Also, how great was Taran Killiam in this?
Taran Killiam is great in everything.
I will agree with that. I've never seen him do anything I didn't like.
No, same. And it's always a delight when he shows up on my screen. But he's not one of those actors that I will actively go and look for. But I'm always delighted with him.
Right.
I don't know why. Okay, so we have the number with Taran Killiam and Abed. And then I think it's so hard because they're all I was about to say it's the best number in the thing, but they're all so good. Mm-hmm. But we have Christmas Infiltration where Abed pulls in Troy. Mm-hmm.
And we get like a really good Christmas rap from Childish Gambino himself. Because they usually didn't I can't think of too many instances in the show where they actually had him rap.
There's not many at all.
Yeah, there's that, and then the Spanish song that him and Abed do. Yeah,
but yeah, and the Christmas rap was written by Dan, and he had a beat in his head, and whenever Ludwig sent him the beat, it was like a lot faster. So they sat Glover and Dan Harmon sat down and basically reworded a few things to kind of make it fit, and then Dan rapped it first to make sure it could be done because he didn't want to force if it couldn't be done. So Dan made sure it could be done, but he did get to a point where he just went and turned to Glover and said, "You can do that, right?"
I love hearing the bright spot stories about working with Dan Harmon because, like, I know he is shitty to work with by all accounts, but obviously he's also great, or he wouldn't get such great stuff out of people.
Yeah, I absolutely love like the stuff that he writes. Like, I mean, I haven't seen a ton, I guess, just this and Rick and Morty, and like I've read his like online articles about like writing the hero's journey, and it's just it breaks it down so well. So like I definitely respect him as a writer. I would love to see what it's like to work with him one day, but also want to leave with my self-esteem intact.
Well, I think, like I said, he's one of my special interests, and I think that he did a lot of the same things that a lot of other neurodivergent people did during the pandemic, and really figured some shit out. And he seems like infinitely happier than when he was filming Community and like on Harmontown and stuff. Like
awesome.
I'm interested to see, like, I would love Harmontown to come back so I could see like what he's watching and what he thinks about what's fucking happening in the world right now. But I also like respect him for being like, hey, no, that's not my jive anymore, and I want to woodwork and make my little TV shows.
Sure. Yeah.
And one of the things that it's kind of hard to talk about Dan without either praising him or hating him. So like trying to go middle of the line, he is a good example of someone that continuously improves themselves. Like, like a stand-up comedian going to open mics and testing different combinations of lead ups and follow ups and tags and stuff like that, and constantly working to get to the big show, as opposed to the stand-up comedians like go up to an open mic and it's like, these are the jokes that work, these are the jokes I'm telling because I want those good feelings. Dan is a person that has continuously worked on himself. He's like, I got in trouble and kicked off of Sarah Silverman because I was a shithead. Don't be a shithead anymore. And so the next one, it was like, I'm not going to be a shithead. I'll be a drunk. And then he got punished for that. And he's like, okay, don't be a shithead. Don't be a drunk, and go. And, now it's like, okay, don't be a drunk. Don't be a shithead. And don't partner with people that are currently involved in criminal behavior. So, he's constantly evolving and getting better.
Well,
process of elimination.
And he's also one of the shining celebrity examples of an actual apology for doing harm against a woman.
Sure. And
like to the point where she's like, this is like the perfect example of what people want from an apology. Men learn from it. And like Megan Ganz has gone on to do incredible things. She's written for Always Sunny in Philadelphia and now has her own show on Apple TV, Mythic Quest, which is fucking incredible.
Mythic Quest is dope.
Did you watch the new season yet?
I haven't finished it. I'm still working my way through it.
It's very good. That show delights me, and every episode makes me cry. Every episode. Can't even remember why now. All right, so we have Troy and Abed.
Yes. Ready
for Glee, and then the next person they want to grab is good old Pierce Hawthorne.
Oh yeah.
No, Annie. This is the one that is like really disappointing because Annie gets converted.
We don't get to see how.
Oh wait, no, Pierce. Yeah, you're right. Pierce does go first.
Pierce first, but yeah, next was Annie, and Annie and Britta were the two that we didn't get to see songs for.
Yes.
But yeah, Pierce is the one in the library for Baby Boomer Santa.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And pointing out, like, all this shit, like, people are starting to get confused and starting to equate Gen X with Baby Boomers. And I would like to point out, Dan Harmon is a Gen X guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Dan Harmon sits there and bashes Baby Boomers. So, like give credit where credit is due. Gen X, original Baby Boomer bashers.
The bees.
Fair enough. Yeah, and I love that. Who is it? Is it Britta that points out that, or no, it's Annie that points out that the song that they're singing is just to placate his generation's well-known vanity.
And watching, like, as big of an asshole he is, Chevy Chase is so good as Pierce, because watching him like slowly get into the song as they realize how much he's talking about him and how much he relates to it, it's just masterful. It's joyful to watch. He's so good in that scene. And then when he bursts out in song, it's like you can see it just slowly bubble up in him, and he's wonderful.
Yeah, no, the joy that he gets, like when he starts like kind of like bouncing up and down a little bit, is really reminiscent of when he was kind of dancing with the bologna sandwich in the first Vacation movie. and kind of flirting with what's her name, Christy Brinkley.
Mhm.
Billy Joel's wife, number
Yeah.
something or other.
Yeah, well, Billy Joel's
The
wife
Uptown
and
Girl.
yeah, and Jerry's wife from Parks and Rec.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good callback.
Yeah, it's wild that we haven't done a Parks and Rec or 30 Rock yet.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
wild.
I just started rewatching 30 Rock.
It's good. It's so
Mhm.
good. Tracy
good.
Morgan makes me laugh no matter what he is doing. I love that man.
Yeah, Tracy Morgan is such a part of our life that we have a werewolf named Tracy Morbin.
The werewolf, yes.
And because of Werewolf Bar Mitzvah on 30 Rock.
Yes. That
And,
is exactly why.
and you can find Tracy on TikTok.
Yeah.
Go make us some cash.
Yeah, until
Until-
TikTok goes away.
Pierce gets converted by the Baby Boomer Santa song.
And then Annie
And-
gets converted by a mystery song.
Yeah.
Right.
And
What kind of
goes in to
song? Wait,
confront
let's think
them and
about
gets
what kind of
ambushed.
song they would do for Annie. I think it would be like some kind of like boy band pop. Because you got the three boys. They would
Sure.
go like full on like 90s pop. I don't know.
For me, I would say I would lean more towards like a Somewhere Out There American
Oh.
Tale, that heart wrenching princess Disney off Disney brand, the Bluth brand of Disney.
If Wish did Disney.
No. Don't get it wrong. No.
Oh, Bluth was solid.
Bluth was Disney. Bluth
My
invented
brain- I'm
Disney
sorry.
style.
I'm sorry,
He
my
just-
brain went to Michael Bluth from Arrested Development and what he would do if he made a Disney movie. I am so sorry.
No. I'm talking about Bluth, the
I
guy
know
who made
now.
all
Yeah,
of
Don
the
Bluth.
cartoons.
I know now.
Oh.
I know now.
But yeah, if you don't know the story, he was a Disney. He was one of the top Disney animators. And
Through like
he
the
said-
70s, right?
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, pay us fairly." And Disney said no. And he went and made his own
That
company
tracks.
where he paid everyone fairly. And unfortunately, everyone's like, "Oh, socialism's bad. We're not going to support you." And so he had to go back to Imperial Disney.
Don't get me wrong, I like Disney stuff, but
Oh, I
it's lame.
absolutely love Disney stuff. I just
Yeah, right.
love hate.
Capitalism.
I feel that.
So yeah, I think there would be a sweet song of that kind of thing, and it would be like a duet, because the Somewhere Out There has a duet.
Mhm.
So something of that vein, because they both Abed and Troy have sung something in that vein. They actually sang Somewhere Out
Yeah.
There. So something there that would lead up to an emotional build that would give over to the lady lead, and Annie would just dive right into it and go for it.
What do you think, Bryce? What kind of song do you think Annie would they did for Annie?
My initial thought was like something along the lines of like Little Mermaids, like Kiss the Girl.
Oh
That's a good one.
Because Annie does melt pretty easily. Like, remember when Abed
Yep.
turned into Cool Abed, and
Yep.
yeah, she was eating it up. So
The Han Solo Abed.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good. The other thing that just popped into my head is I could see also early 2000s Britney,
ooh,
like a "Hit Me Baby One More Time" thing. I don't know. All right, but then we
Three
get
guys.
Annie convincing little Jeff Winger.
yeah.
And,
Now this is my favorite song in the show, in the episode. And like it's the whole turn on, like, Santa Baby, or like some of those like old like 50s chorus girl like type of things.
The ones where they infantilize women.
Yeah, because
Infantilized.
and as the song goes on, she just gets dumber and dumber, and as a traditionally like intelligent character or whatever, it's a funny turn to see. She's just kind of playing it up and milking it, and like it doesn't look like Jeff falls for it, but ultimately we know he did.
Mhm.
And it's go ahead.
She plays it so well. Like, in the
Yes.
hands of like a lesser comedic actress, it would have been overplayed and too sexy, but she nailed it.
Oh yeah.
But here's a philosophical paradox for you. So she's infantilized, but aside from that, she's hot. So is the infantilization becoming hot because she's hot and doing it, or is it the other way around? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, does she make that particular activity hot because she's hot on her own, and doing it is like, well, if a hot person's doing it, it's hot.
I mean, yeah, like I think it's like the whole thing where she's hot the same way that Shyler Lee was hot in Not Another Teen Movie, but once she took off the paint and the overalls and the glasses, then she was like mega super hot. I think it's that, and I don't know. And like the way that she just like we said, she gets dumber and dumber. The way she closes on boopy doopy doop boop sex, it boils it all down.
And then Jeff telling her that the sexiness has diminishing returns, and then her response is the best. She's so gifted. And
oh yeah,
what I like about Alison Brie is she does not give a fuck. Like, she's done some wild ass. I can't think of any now, but I just know that she'll take like any role. She doesn't hold anything back, and I love that about her.
She did a crazy movie with what's her name, Aubrey Plaza, where they're like
Little Hours.
Yes, that movie is so weird.
It is so strange and so much nudity.
Oh yeah, and with Kate Micucci from Garfunkel and Oates.
All of Kate Micucci from Garfunkel and Oates.
What do they call it, Menken or
Merkin?
Merkin, yeah, that's it.
It had to be a Merkin.
And was it Kate Kate Notes? She was also naked in another movie about threesomes.
A television show called Love.
Okay.
Or Easy.
No,
It's Easy or Love. I can't remember which one it is. I would get those two confused. Yes.
Yeah, no, it's Britta was in Love.
Yes, Britta's in Love. Oates is in Easy.
Yeah, Easy's a woo. It's a great show, but man, it hits so many nerves. Like,
yeah.
Like, ooh, I shouldn't like that. All right.
Before we get into Shirley's conversion, you remember the song "The Hook," right?
Yes.
Okay.
Blues Traveler?
Yeah. So the entire message of that song is that I'm just going to be talking whatever I'm saying right now. Nothing of this matters. All these lyrics are bullshit, because as soon as I get to that hook, I've got you by the emotional balls and I control you now, which is kind of what happens with Shirley. It's like, the lyrics are just goofy. And the lyrics are just they're an angry white mom's Yelp complaint is basically is what the kids are singing. But it's a child's choir, and they all sing beautifully.
And one of them is related to the actress that plays Shirley as well.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it was there was one child that they did a close up of. So assuming that, everybody on the staff loved everybody on the staff. So I'm like, if this was a family favor, we're bringing in her, we'll give her a little 2-second boom. So I'm pretty sure that was the child, or that would be my logical guess. So yeah, the kids just start singing, and Shirley is just reeled right in, and she belts out, Jesus. And her voice is beautiful.
Yeah, she's a beautiful singer.
And it is very much in line with her character. Like, one of the things that I love so much about Community is, like, every one of the actors was involved in helping create the character over the first season. So everyone and the writers were actively involved in maintaining the integrity of each of the characters. So, like, before we watched the Christmas episode, we also watched the Halloween episode where they're sitting around telling Halloween stories. So, like, the mind of the writing staff is so deep because they're writing and acting out stories of the character writing the story, trying to imitate their other characters. So the story is told from Abed's point of view, and Abed trying to figure out how Shirley would act in this scene. So it's like 4-level deep chess trying to write these scenes, and they're all brilliant. So writing a song in the voice of Shirley when she comes out, it's like, this is the writers knowing the characters very well and the actress knowing the character very well and just hitting the mark perfectly.
Absolutely.
It's sad that all characters aren't treated with such care. They all deserve it. And so we also don't get to see how Britta gets converted, but I think it would be like a punk song.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like a CBGB
totally
punk song.
But honestly, like with that last conversion, like the close up of like Jeff's mouth, like, you know, going into like the horror genre again, it kind of makes it worth it.
Oh yeah,
it's a good trade off.
Yes,
because I'm pretty sure that shot was from like an old horror movie. Like they recreated it, I think.
Yeah, it had to have been, especially knowing like Dan and the team.
Yeah, right.
Even though Britta only got cast as the mute tree.
Hey, even mute trees can get upgraded, apparently.
This particular moment in the show actually triggers me because when I was in the 6th grade, I was on the stage in the auditorium auditioning for a solo in the Christmas pageant. And after I got done singing my little heart out, the guy goes, "Would you like to be the MC?"
Oh, no.
So that started my MCing career. But but I can tell you the writers and the actress of Britta nailed the feeling of complete abandonment and loss of hope and just crushing dreams. She nailed it. Like, I felt it in my soul.
Like, this might seem like a weird thing to say, but I think that before she dies, of all of the cast members on Community, Gillian Jacobs is most likely to win an Oscar. Because she makes really interesting choices with her career, and she's like just like a fucking really good actress.
I agree.
Okay,
right,
so we're at the turn where Abed and Taran Killiam, Mr. Rand, are getting things set up, and they have the little mock-up thing and getting everything prepared, and talking about who's going to play what role. And Mr. Rad points out that it's between Shirley and Annie because they're the only ones that can sing. And Abed points out that there's also Britta, and he reaches for Britta, and Mr. Rad slaps him. And
she's playing a tree.
Abed, being neurodivergent, picks up on cues differently. And it's like when someone slaps you, you know something is wrong instantly. It's a pretty telltale sign that something is amiss. So
I never put together that sensory connection, but that's a good call out.
I just because it was like, oh my god, because there's a thing where if someone is on your side and you're going along, it's like, all right, and every step you take, you just assume that they're on board, and then if you're going to take a radical turn and they're not with you, they're like, wait a second. And it's like that break in your reality is like, wait a second. You were supposed to follow me. Come here. And it's just like a violent lash out that's just like. So then they go into the stage area and are getting ready for the show, right? Or
and Mr. Rad is like telling Abed about all the plans to go to regionals and semi-annual regionals and national regional, all of these different competitions. And like Abed was only in it for Christmas. He was like, I thought it was just for Christmas. And so he decides to sabotage the pageant by
I love the look that Mr. Rad gives him, though, that kind of like he just kind of zones in. He's like, this is what we do now. This is who we are.
Well, like Taran Killiam nailed the fervor of Mr.
Oh, 100%.
This is embarrassing to admit, but after we watched Community one time, Mickey and I watched every single episode of Glee just because of the rivalry, just to see, because not aside from this episode, like Dan throws in a lot of like digs at Glee throughout the Community. And so we were like, well, like knowing it was a little bit of a rivalry, Glee had to clap back at some point. And I don't even remember what they were, but there were some really obvious, like, oh shit, yeah, that is directed at Community.
Oh, nice. That's funny.
But it's embarrassing to admit that I've watched all of Glee.
Yeah, I love that. One other thing I love about this episode, before we like get to the conclusion, is that like they've hinted at subbing in for the Glee Club before, like several times, like in previous episodes. And like I actually like went back and made sure, because I was like, did I miss an episode where they did it already? And like I feel like that's the what they want you to feel.
Yes, I love that they make it feel like they have lives outside of the stuff you see on the screen.
Right, and just to have that that payment, to pay that off is so wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what I was saying earlier about people that do work on themselves and
oh yeah,
like here is like AT&T invented the transistor, and then they were like, okay, this is good, but we can do better. And then they made chips with 1,000 transistors, and they're like, oh, we could do better. And then all of a sudden they have 1 million transistors on it. Dan Harmon did that. Basically, we're going to reference an episode that we never made, and he took that joke into Rick and Morty for the super group with Christian Slater. Where the Avenger, not the Avengers, the Revenger. Oh crap!
I can't remember.
It's an Avengers joke, but basically they were like, "Hey, this is number 3," and they're like, or this is number 2, referencing that we as the audience missed an episode, and then they go on to say, "Oh no, this is actually our 3rd one," which is to say that the audience missed 2. And Rick and Morty missed 1. So, you know, it's like, okay, so he took that one joke and then added a little extra to it.
For every episode, I have like a little recap that I copy and paste from somewhere often or normally. And I did not realize that the last song had a name. Do you want to guess it or do you just want me to tell you? I'm happy either way.
Go ahead.
It's called Planet Christmas.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, no, same. And so Abed asks Britta to replace him as the Mouse King. And she asks him, she's like, I don't know the lyrics.
It's like they're in your heart. And of course, in the classic Britta response, the doy.
The doy. And then when she comes out on stage, the dean says probably one of my favorite lines in Community and one that I repeat anytime I see Gillian Jacobs on screen. And that is, oh, Britta's in this? Like I was watching something with somebody who hadn't seen Community ever before. And like Gillian showed up on screen. And I was like, oh, Britta's in this? And then I had to do like this whole deep explanation of so much stuff just to explain something that should have just been a throwaway joke.
That's awesome.
And her singing is not great, but I still love it. Because not only does she sing her terrible Christmas Time for Me song, but she also references her Me So Hungry from Remedial Chaos Theory a couple episodes ago. With the Me So Christmas or whatever she says.
Me So Christmas, Me So Merry.
Yes. Yeah. That's a callback to Remedial Chaos
Pizza,
Theory.
Me So Hungry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then this causes Mr. Rand to have an outburst. Basically, sometimes in television, whenever you want to put all the magic up front and you want to close out real quickly, you just have the bad guy burst out in anger and confess to everything. It worked for Perry Mason for 35 years, and they're bringing Perry Mason back because it's still gonna work. It's if you can't get out, just end it.
Yeah.
But this is where Mr. Rand confesses to his previous sins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
cutting, or he's like, it's like, or what do you say? It's metaphorically cutting the brake lines on the last bus or stuff like that.
I don't know if that was a deep OJ reference, because he basically said, "If I killed them, this is the way I would have done it." And, like,
it had to be,
Because I think that was around I can't remember when If came out, but like
I don't
OJ,
remember either.
he printed a book that said, "If I killed them," If was in black font on a black bar. So it said, "If I killed her," and it looked like on the bookshelves, it looked like I killed her.
Yeah.
So this could have easily been an OJ reference.
This episode is the debut of the 6 seasons in a movie hashtag that rallied all the fans together, because the show was supposed to be benched after this episode and they didn't know if it was going to come back. So there was like the possibility that could have been the series finale of Community.
Oh, wow.
But 6 seasons in a movie got it to 5 seasons of network TV and a 6th season on Yahoo. And now we have a movie getting ready to film, which is fucking wild.
Like, what would they even make it about? Because I know there's a few people not coming back. Like, and I don't think Don Glover is coming back, and I know Chevy Chase is not coming back.
I think the only one not coming back is Chevy Chase. Everyone else has agreed to be in it as in some fashion. Yes.
Yeah, I believe that was amazing. Yeah. I believe Dan's requirement for coming back was everyone but Chevy.
Yes, exactly. Dan would not have made it without Danny Glover. 100%. Donald, yes. Danny Glover's the other guy.
I mean, Danny Glover would be great too. I would not be mad if he guys showed up.
Just as the personal joy would be to have Keith David come back. Keith David has been in like pretty much everything that I loved. Keith David has been in it. Like one of my favorite games of all times is Saints Row. And the main character basically gets out of jail, puts together his crew, and then the next one he takes over the city and becomes mayor, and the next one you're president, and your president happens to be Keith David playing Keith David. And in that game they go through and there's a scene where Keith David fights another character, and the fight is a frame by frame replica of the They Live fight. And it is absolutely amazing. Like, the people that make Saints Row are absolutely creative geniuses, and I love everything they do.
I agree 100%. They're some of the most fun games to play. I'm normally not a big fan of those kind of games. Okay, so what are you watching right now?
Actually, this is the most TV or most new TV I've ever watched at one time in my life. So this is a great time to ask that question. But
all right,
I just wrapped up Poker Face.
So good.
Yeah, right. Like it's like the next Murder, She Wrote.
It was good from beginning to end. No bads.
Yeah, and they set it up for a great second season. And I'm excited about Rhea Perlman coming into the fold. Not to spoil anything, but so I just finished that, and then of course I just finished The Last of Us on HBO Max.
I haven't even started that yet. I got to.
It's really well done, I think.
Did you play the game?
No, I never played the game. And you know what's funny is I actually own it on PS3, but I just never. I don't know. I don't even know how I have the game, but I found out that I do have it. I've never played it.
I played the game up into a very specific part that I could not get past, and I'm really hoping that they include it in the show so I can be like, this is where I could not get past.
They just get stuck and then call.
Yeah, I could. It was like you were like hanging upside down from ropes, and you had to like shoot things while spinning around. And I'm just like, there's no way my brain can keep track of all of that at once. There's none, 0% chance.
Yeah, for some reason, like pretty much every Star Wars game comes out, I'll start it up. I was like, this looks beautiful. This is awesome. This is a lot of fun. And then I'll get to one thing. It's like you got to jump up, left, to the right, and grab onto this thing and do a force push or whatever, and that combination just my brain won't do, and I'm like, well, yeah, it was nice.
Yeah,
it's like they got to ease you into stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe they do for normal brain people, and just for our neurodivergent brains is like, what?
Yeah, no, there's people that love the Star Wars games are extremely popular for a reason, and it just doesn't click with my brain.
All right, so The Last of Us and Poker Face. Anything else?
Yeah, I'm in the process of watching Shrinking on Apple Plus.
Ooh, how is that?
It's incredible. It's legit my favorite show on right now.
Oh, dip.
Yeah, it's just so good. But like the cast and the dynamic between everybody, it's incredible. And Harrison Ford is I don't know him for being funny, but he is hilarious in this.
I found him to be very awkward at the Academy Awards,
Yeah. Well.
like in an old way.
Oh, so you have Apple TV, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so did you watch Severance?
No, I did not.
Oh
watch
my
Severance.
God, watch Severance.
Yeah,
Oh.
it is.
Making the list.
It's
good.
one of
Good.
the most groundbreaking shows in years from
Wait, is that
that perspective.
Adam
Scott? Yes,
Adam Scott? I did start watching that, but I got derailed pretty early.
it's
Just not
an
anything that they
investment.
did wrong.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't click. Like I
yeah.
said,
It took us like 4 times to watch Breaking Bad, so it doesn't click
Okay.
all the time the first time.
But it is like looking at all these things, Breaking Bad, Severance, and all these other TV shows that are top of the list on everybody's list. Look at the comedians. Look at stand-up comedians, because they're the ones that know how to commit to a bit. And when you want dramatic actors, you want someone that's going to commit. And it's simple. Like I work in electronics, and it's like I used to work on machines that built machines, and then I moved on to other machines that did other things. But the very basic molecules of everything is how do electrons work, and knowing that, you can convert it over. So a comedian going to dramatic levels is much better, much stronger, much more convincing art than a dramatic artist trying to do comedy. Like, look at Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a comedy, but like the drama parts are just, whew.
Oh,
Like-
absolutely.
Consistently, the last few seasons of Always Sunny in Philadelphia have had crying moments in them.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, and I that's always a fun line to walk in a show or whatever, is to have like the whole thing be pretty much comedic, but then actually touch on some real stuff.
Mhm.
I always appreciated Scrubs for that.
Yeah.
Cheers was good about that, even back in the day. It wasn't really so much a tearjerker, but they touched on serious stuff.
Yeah, I'm I'm rewatching My Name Is Earl right now, and they touch on some serious stuff in some interesting ways that are very problematic nowadays. But it's still fun to watch, because, like, I was thinking about it, and that show was before like the internet kind of exploded, so like we didn't have the opportunity to learn so much about other people and other cultures as we do now, and so it was just a lot of misguided information. I don't know. It's been interesting to watch from like a cultural perspective like that.
But look at it from this perspective, though. He is a low educated person.
Mm-hmm.
He is, trapped in the outskirts of rural America, and he is trying to better himself. And while he does enter something, like he'll bust through the door and say something inappropriate, someone says, "Hey, that's inappropriate." He goes, "I was unaware that was inappropriate. Now that I do know,
Yeah.
I will do my best to not do that again."
Yes, the character of Earl is so great about like learning about stuff that way. The thing that even made me say that is today I watched a storyline about Catalina getting deported, and the way they depicted like her culture was very troubling. It was very troubling, and I was like, "Woof, that would not fly today." But yes, Earl is very good about learning from the people that he encounters, and I love that about the show. I love it. It's a fucking good show, and Ethan Suplee is fucking hysterical in it.
Oh, he's great, man. He's another one that I've never seen him do anything. I was like, this is not good.
Agree. So when you watch television, like when you're doing a binge, do you watch the theme song?
Oh yeah,
Intro.
yeah. I almost never skip the intro. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm not in that much of a hurry. But
I almost always watch the intro unless I am in a hurry. Like the other day, right now, I'm watching one episode of Succession a day until the new episode airs next Sunday. And the other day, Mickey was here for my daily Succession watch, and I fast forwarded through the intro, and he looked at me like I was crazy, because I am pretty adamant about always watching the Succession intro because it's a banger. And there's this video on YouTube that he shared with me one time that this guy made a song up about it, and I sing it every time when I watch it, but I just wanted to go take a bath when I was done watching, so I fast forward. That was a dumb story. I'm sorry.
But the community theme song is if they could take dopamine and put it in a pill, it would be the same effect as the community theme song. Even though it's like if you just ignore the lyrics because they're depressing as shit.
Yeah.
But the song, the musicality, and the voice and everything goes together. And if you just ignore the lyrics, it is so happy and just so joyful. Ignore the lyrics.
Yeah, I was thinking that's another one of those songs, kind of like Hey Ya, where like the music is so upbeat and fun, and then like you listen to the words like, oh.
Okay, well, this was very much fun. This is always the awkward part. Like, if people want to keep in touch with you or see like what you got going on, where can they do that?
Just send me a letter, man. No, I mean I'm on the socials. Not as active as I used to be. Like I did stand up for a long time, and now I'm in a different city where nobody knows me, and so like I'm trying to kind of dip my toes in the local scene.
What are the open mics like down there?
And yeah, I guess from you guys, yes, I am down here.
I'm not used to anything being down from me.
Yeah. And I'm up from where I used to be. So
yeah.
The open mic scene here seems to be pretty good. Like there's like at least 1 or 2 mics a night, it seems to be. And that's if and there's more if I like feel like, because like Cincinnati, I guess like the metro area is bigger, a lot bigger than I thought. So like if I want to drive a little bit, then there's even more, but I don't. So but yeah, and from what I've seen or whatever, there's some funny people here. So I look forward to kind of integrating around here. I guess at Cuban Browse is what I'm normally, or what most of my social is at, or is that what most of my social media accounts? A Cuban and then BROUSE. It's not a long story. It's just not a funny one, as funny as it should be to have a name like that still. I never thought that people would want to look me up. So, like, it didn't matter what I named myself.
That's so funny because the next episode we're recording is, this is a spoiler alert. The next episode we're recording is with Heather Shaw, and she picked an episode of this show called Pen 15. And the episode is about them picking their very first AIM screen name. So this is very fitting.
That's a perfect lead in, man. Heather, you're welcome.
She's gonna be so grateful. She will not care.
I love Heather, man. That's gonna be a fun time.
I love her too. I'm so excited to talk to her. I told her, I was like, I just want you to be on my podcast so we can hang out virtually because I miss you.
One last thing. Yes. The Glee Club. In season 1, the very first paintball episode.
Yes.
The study group is exiting the library, and the Glee Club shoots Troy, and then everyone ducks, and then like someone stands up and gets shot, and then they call Pierce over to kind of draw the fire, and the study group then eliminates the entire Glee Club. And as they're walking away, Jeff screams, "Write some original song." So that was the birth of the rivalry between Glee Club and the study group.
That's awesome. I did like, because what were they singing? "Hit me with your best shot" or whatever. And Annie got so pissed that they were like doing like grabbing such low hanging fruit. She like stood up.
To add to the low hanging fruit, the last Glee Club member to fall out of the tree grabs the lowest branch and just hangs there for a second, and then Abed shoots him.
Oh, it's perfect. It's like they knew what they were doing. They did. They knew what they were doing.
All right. Like I said, this is the awkward part. So,
yeah.
Irish goodbye.